Hello everyone, today we will be talking about the second chapter of our book, um, Language Assessment and Testing. I have prepared 5 subtopics for you from the document that's presented to us, like that's provided to us. So there are 5 principles for language assessment. We have practicality issues. We will see how practical a test should be and what are the important things that we should pay attention to. We will see reliability and what are some issues under reliability. We will see validity and how to make a test valid. We will cover some authenticity issues and we will see what a washback effect is. So, starting with the first one, practicality. So, when we say practicality, I want you to think of yourself and what you do throughout your life to make life easier for yourself. For example, you have a budget and you're not really spending it too much, so that's like being practical with your money. Or you're being like mindful with your time, that's being practical with your time, for example, or other things that makes life easier to function. So we have something like that for evaluation too. If you are in a budget, which you will probably be if you work in a school, you should be So, one of the things that you should be considering is the price, the cost of your test. Like, this can also be like, hiring teachers for the evaluation of the test because, they also get paid, especially for larger scale tests. So, for example, instead of placing 3 teachers in a room, if you place 1 teacher for observation, then that will be being practical with price. But if we think like more simple, this is more about the printing, for example. Instead of like printing single pages, you can use the both sides of your pages, and that will be more economical and also environmentally friendly, to be honest. The second thing is time. So, giving a certain amount of time for your students is, of course, necessary. But what you have to do is you have to calculate in how many minutes your students will finish this exam, and you should give them the exact amount, not less, not more. So, you should be practical with the time because if they don't finish on time, that will also like create some problems for reliability issues. So another thing for practicality is your exam should be easy to administer. You should avoid unnecessary procedures. For example, your students are taking an exam in one exam hall, and then they have to, let's say, go somewhere else. Don't make it like at the other end of the school. Make it closer. That's also something practical for them. Maybe the classrooms should be like labeled so they can find it easier. That's also an administration issue. Um, Another thing is results and scoring. Of course, like the way you will be evaluating the exams and scoring them should be set before you even like distribute the exam to your students. And also for your students to be able to check their results. There should be a set system. For example, in our university, we know that once our teachers read the exams, we can check it from the system. So something like that is necessary for every exam. That's a practicality issue. So the second thing is reliability. We have some subtopics for reliability, student-related, rater-related, test and administration reliability, and test reliability, of course. So the first one is student-related reliability. So if the student is not on his best day, and he's having a bad day, he would probably not have the best exam of his life. So if he's like feeling sleepy, or he's having some temporary illness like me, or he's like too anxious for the exam, that's an issue for reliability. So physical or psychological things that's affecting your students temporarily can affect your exam scores. The next one is rater-related reliability. So we have two types of these. One is inter-rater and the other is intra-rater. Inter-rater is when two raters rate the exam and they have inconsistent results. So their results are different. One of the teachers are getting like 80 and the other is giving 70, for example. For intra-rater reliability issues, the main reasons are unclear rubrics. So they're just evaluating from just without any rubric. They're just like, maybe it's intuition or maybe something else. They're just rating it. And fatigue, if the teacher is not feeling well, if the rater is not feeling well. And biases. So this is, I think, one of the biggest issues. If you see the name of your student on the paper, you will be biased. So the best way to deal with that is covering the name. A well-prepared rubric can increase rater reliability. That's a tip for us. And also another tip, as I mentioned, is to cover the names of the students. So another thing is test administration reliability. So the place your students are taking the exam, the conditions they are taking the exam in, it might be too loud or too hot, too cold. The light might be too dim or it might be too bright. So these are all factors that will affect the reliability of your test. Especially in big scale tests like the university exam test, for example. If it's during the election time, there will be some election buses running around, and it will affect the reliability of the exam. The next one is test reliability. So some students, they don't really perform well with time tests. This is an issue for reliability. And also if your items are poorly written, this is also another issue for reliability. Like the question itself is very vague, and when the students reads it, they have like different ideas. They all understand something different. So that's another issue. So the next one is validity. In this topic, we will cover, let's see, 5 subtopics. So content validity, construct validity, face validity, criterion, and consequential validity. So let's start with the content validity. If a test can evaluate what it says it's evaluating, for example, you have some learning objectives and you are going to prepare a test. Your test should be focusing on the learning objectives that you have covered and nothing else. As I said, like, you should just ask what you taught. You can do this directly or indirectly, it's up to you. For example, you're looking for conversational skills. Instead of doing a speaking test, you're doing a multiple choice grammar skills test. So you're not looking for what you taught. So this is not valid. It doesn't have content validity. So the next one is criterion related validity. If a test scores if a test scores are collaborated either by behavior or other communicative measures, for example, a test is taken by your students and he can show that he is actually equipped with those skills that he has taken the test of. For example, you did a speaking test and your students got like good grades and they can actually speak. So this is valid in terms of criterion. I want to give an example from prep graduate students. So they take a prep year. It can be in Turkish or English. Once they graduate, are they actually, having those skills when they graduate, or is it just like just numbers, So this is a criterion related problem. So you don't have the qualifications when you take the quiz, but your results are high. The next one is construct validity. If a test is in the appropriate structure to evaluate what is needed to evaluate. Especially large-scale standardized tests. For example, it's a test and it's evaluating language skills, but it's not doing other parts for language. It's just doing a written exam. Like YDS and YDT in our country are examples for this test. They do not have speaking, listening, or writing parts. They just have a number of tests you take, and you have a language level. Consequential validity. So when when we hear this term, we should talk about the results. The results of students, the results that it will create in a student's psychology or mental state, it doesn't matter. After taking the exam or while preparing for the exam, for the test. So what kind of social consequences will it bring if they fail or if they pass this test? We should consider what kind of washback effect it has too, and we will learn about what washback effect is at the end of this presentation. Another fun fact is, if let's say your students took a test and some of them they didn't really do well. So after taking that test, some of them they started to take private lessons for that lesson. So this also shows their socioeconomic status. The next one is face validity. So the perception on the test, the test taker's perception on the test. We can say that this is the way students see a test. You cannot really fix this in any way. It's subjective to students. They might not like you and they might not like the test. It's very subjective. But if you want to achieve some face validity, you need content validity. So if you teach something, ask about that and your students will probably trust you. There are some things that students look for in an exam. For example, they look for clear instructions, if the instructions are understandable or not. They look for structure, logicality, if it's going in good order. They also look for accuracy on difficulty level. So if you told them, oh, we're going to have a very difficult test, study hard, some of them don't listen to you, but some of them will study hard. And if you ask a cake, that's a piece of cake. If you do a test, that's a piece of cake, then it's not really, it doesn't have face validity because the difficulty level wasn't accurate. Don't do any surprises, so just ask what you taught, as we said, and give like appropriate timing. Don't be too short on the time and rush them. The next thing is authenticity. We know that authenticity is very important in every field. So the first thing is keep the language as natural as possible. So don't overdo it. Just be straightforward and clear about your instructions. Contextualizing your questions is actually something good, and it will make the exam more fun, which brings us to the next point. Make your exam interesting, make it fun, make it enjoyable, maybe put some elements of humor. You can also keep it in a theme. Let's see some examples. For example, here, this is a maths exam, I suppose. And the context is Justin Bieber. Another one, here's a exam question for extra credit. Describe the dumbest conversation you overheard recently. So like you can make things fun. You don't have to be so strict about exams if you are preparing it. Here is like another nice example for, keeping it in context. So it's like for young learners, and they might have fun. This is an example for authenticity, like real life, real world sources. For example, here, you can use like these kinds of paragraphs. If you keep the language natural, for example, for listening parts, there's some white noise, interruptions. Sometimes they overdo it, especially like some sources. You don't understand what they're saying because there's a lot of background noise. You might want to avoid that, but like, keeping it natural is also good. And also keep it like, in sequence. So put different parts and keep them separate. It will give them a more organized look. For example, this one. So it starts with the first part and then it goes to the second part. And the last thing we will talk about today is washback effect. So let's see what's a washback effect. What does washback effect enhance, and what should teachers do to enhance it? So in formal tests, a washback effect can be like how to prepare for it. Like if your students are taking in between tests, like tests that mock. I think they're called like mock-up exams or something. So like that's the exams that are really similar, the ones that we used to take when we're, preparing for university. You can use those as a washback effect. Like they will take the exam as if it's real, and then you will give them like appropriate feedback. And they will take notes accordingly. So for classroom assessment, the information after the teacher reveals the correct answer is also a washback effect. So like you ask an answer and then you give them information, like extra information, and that's like the effect it's leaving on the students because they are like, actively learning. What does it enhance? So one of the things that it enhances is intrinsic motivation. So it gives the feeling of a student that, oh, I can do it. It gives autonomy because they start seeing what they cannot do, um, which helps them, focus on the things that they cannot do. Self-confidence, so like after once or twice, they learn, and they go like, oh, I wasn't like I couldn't do this, but now I can. It gives the language ego, and it also gives strategic investment. So you can like give them strategies for the actual tests they're gonna take. So what should teachers do to enhance washback? Yeah, as I said, what should teachers do? One of the things is they should give detailed feedback. Um, some teachers, they just do the exam and they disappear. You shouldn't be like that. You should give them feedback, even if it's good or bad. You should praise the strengths. Tell them that, oh, this was very good, but this wasn't good. It's also like something good for constructive criticism. So be constructive, don't blame them, try to be helpful, and give them strategic hints. Like if they're having a hard time, let's say they're wasting too much time on a certain type of exam, you can teach them how to solve certain types of questions, whether if it's test like multiple choice or you know different kinds of ways to answer the questions. For example, here's a constructive feedback. It's actually praising, so the teacher is like telling, oh, you're really good and I liked your work. So that's it for the washback effect. Let's see what we covered this presentation. Okay, here it is. So we talked about practicality, we talked about reliability, validity, how to keep your work authentic, and the washback effect and its benefits. So thank you for listening to me, and I will be there if you have any questions in the classroom. So have a good one. Bye bye.